Hey there, welcome to ATL and 29, a podcast that looks at the NBA from the starting point of Atlanta. My name is Kevin Chenard. I'm here with Glen Willis and Tyler Jones on a Saturday afternoon uh, after the center of the NBA became Las Vegas yesterday. Tyler, what'd you think of the Summer Hawks debut?
Um, Summer League. You know, I the when they were in structure, I thought they looked pretty good. Particularly on defense, the entire game. I thought when they weren't, giving up easy points in transition due to bad turnovers or stuff like that, like when they were in the half court defense, I thought they were generally good, though they had some miscommunications that particularly hurt them late in the game. But overall, like I thought the defense was good throughout. And really, I thought overall, I thought they outplayed the Wizards. They just didn't make their free throws. You know, that kind of if you're wondering why the Hawks lost, even though I thought they were the better team, they missed a lot of free throws and they missed some open 3 pointers they probably wish they got back. But like it's summer league, so I'm not too worried about the make or misses. I'm more impressed by the process of how many threes they got up, how the way they played, and just the general flow of things. They look as a team, they look pretty good.
What'd you think, Glenn?
I mean, watching live, you could tell when there were at least four guys who played in College Park last year that were on the floor versus when there were two or maybe and sometimes three. The switching wasn't as crisp on defense. That really got them late. But I mean, you could see how much carried over from what they did last year, at College Park into game one here. And it's funny because if they wanted to win the game, they would have put Miles Norris back in the game. And
Uh,
if they had prioritized winning the game, I shouldn't say they didn't. I'm not saying they didn't want to win the game, but I mean, it was clear which groups were more effective, more impactful, and things like that. But the goal here is to give these new guys some reps in the system and, working with all those principles and everything. And so, I thought they showed out well. And I'm encouraged mostly because you can see the players that carried over from last year. And I talked about this on the pod with Brad when we previewed Summer League, where I said, the organizations that are producing undrafted free agents into being potential rotation players, actual NBA players, are the organizations that are keeping guys in their system for 2 years, 3 years, right? Like not just rotating new players in every time you build a G League roster, in the fall, and you can see the impact of the consistency, whether it was, Baker on the floor or Norris on the floor or whoever else on the floor, they played the same way, right? And
yeah,
they had the same focus and the same priorities and the same principles. And I don't, maybe Hawks fans care a lot about that or don't. It means a lot to me. To me, it's important and it's a critical part of how they build this thing up. But that was impressive, and it was interesting to me that Risha kind of fit into most of that pretty quickly. I mean, he's been playing at a high
yeah.
level in Europe for a while, but he was doing a lot of that stuff too. Where, say, a guy like Liddell was on the floor and he was a little more out of sync, and things like that. So that was,
Actually, with Liddell, interesting enough, I thought defensively though, uh, he kind of picked up what the Hawks were doing pretty quickly. Uh, I was really impressed with the switching he was doing in particular alongside. It might have helped that he was playing all of his minutes like the Miles Norris, who was just, I mean, Miles was impressive. I thought he was comfortably the best big the Hawks played last game. So and that makes sense because he had, watching his G League from the start of his two-way experience when he started with the Hawks to the end of the G League, like he became a much better basketball player overall, I thought. And so it was good to see him in particular have a little show out game. I mean, Keaton Wallace was kind of the star of the, non-draft pick variety, but I thought Miles Norris was very good, like just overall floor game at, basically doing everything at a high level on both ends of the floor. But I thought I found to be a little bit intrigued with what Liddell was doing as like a small ball center on defense. Like that was something I didn't know he had in him.
Yeah, and it was Wallace and Norris that were providing a lot of leadership, right?
Yep.
And which was kind of how it looked last year too, right? And but I mean, even little things like Baker can defend in space. I mean, he can switch and he can go onto a ball handler, right? This is summer league, so it's different than switching onto say Donovan Mitchell or someone like that in an actual NBA game. But he can move his feet and he can shoot, and so you can kind of see the skill sets that they're prioritizing from a developmental standpoint. Want to run some 5 out, want bigs who can space the floor, who can shoot some, who can defend in space, switch, all that sort of stuff. That's what they were, kind of building. The stuff that Liddell was a little out of sync on was when he's in a help position, a
Yeah.
little late, right? The angle wasn't always kind of there, and the connectivity. It was interesting to me that every time that the Wizards broke the paint, whether it was someone short rolling or a cutter from the weak side 3 point, the Hawks were putting two defenders at the rim from the weak side to help, and then trusting their X out rotation, and that's something I don't remember the Hawks doing at all ever last year, right? Is putting two at the rim, and if you're going to play smaller line, I mean, to me, I was like, okay, if they're going to play a lot of lineups with Okongwu and Jalen and say, whoever the three, are they going to have two at the rim to help on that side and just expect everybody to bust their tail, kind of Xing out and all that sort of stuff? So that was a really interesting uh, kind of wrinkle to me on defense that I don't really recall seeing the big league club doing last year.
Yeah, I don't know if that is necessarily sustainable when you get to the higher levels and the better shooting teams. That seems like a dangerous recipe. But I wanted to go back to what you were saying a minute ago, Glenn, with the teams that are keeping their undrafted free agents and developing them. And one of the questions I wanted to ask you was uh about Keaton Wallace. I honestly, I thought it was going to be an interesting question to ask you. Should they do something so that another team doesn't come in and swoop him up and take him away, and then boom, they signed him. What do you think of the Hawks signing Keaton Wallace to a two-way and kind of going along with the same theme? Now that we've seen the details of Vit Krejci's contract, how that's going to play out.
Yeah, it's interesting to me because all last year we watched Trent Forrest play good defender, really limited offensively, right? Keaton
Yeah.
Wallace can do things on offense that Trent Forrest can't do, right? And it's not like super high level stuff, but he's not going to get stuck with the ball, right? He can create, um, some dribble penetration. He knows how to read the floor and kind of move the ball or do what he's going to do. And so for me, it already feels like kind of an upgrade over that spot. Now, I mean, I don't see them bringing Trent back. You actually never know how this is all going to shake out. I think his cap holds still in the books, I would guess. I'd have to look that up to be sure. I don't remember them, taking any action where it wouldn't be. But I mean, Keaton Wallace is what you want as a depth piece because he can play on both ends, play on and off the ball, has all of that, right? And I mean, I was just super impressed with what he did yesterday. And he's one of those guys. It's like and for us, because the Hawks play in the Southeast Division, you always think about Miami producing all those guys, Gabe Vincent and on and on and on, right? And you just like, man, could he be an actual rotation piece like next year, or sooner, because he does a lot of good work out there. And credit to the front office for maybe realizing like a lot of teams saw him play tonight, you know. So we better take
Yeah.
some action here and secure him.
I will say with Keaton, I thought they were going to do something with him last year too, because he was playing well in G League in the games I saw, but then he got hurt. So that's why he kind of just milled around. Like he was hurt for like the I forget what the injury was, but he basically didn't play for long stretches of time last year. So that's probably so this isn't like they didn't just sign him like just to let other Hawks fans know who Keaton Wallace is. Like this isn't something out of the blue. Like he's been in the G League. He was very good last season, on and off the ball, and like I enjoy that the Hawks are scouting talents like this guys who can clearly help the team who clearly shore up certain weaknesses or flaws in the team and be like, hey, maybe this guy could come in for 5 minutes in the game, if we have an injury or whatever, and like keep the train on the tracks. I thought the just to get back to the game a bit, I thought the best thing Keaton did, truthfully, was get Ricochet going off the ball because he was able to hit him like in rhythm with some passes so that Ricochet could get going offensively. Whereas in the first half, it was kind of stagnated with playing with Jurisic, who was probably a bit outstretched playing point guard. It's probably a bit too much for him, but I mean, it's not a bad thing to see that from him early. But I really thought what Keaton did was kind of just run an offense and get everybody organized and properly and hit guys when they're cutting and all that good stuff. What you expect from a point guard. So to get that plus the extremely awesome defense that he was playing all game, like it's just like the type of ball pressure he's putting on guys. Like this, it's just something the Hawks have not had. And so like now it's even another guy, um, you know, along with Kobe, along with Dyson Daniels, along with V. Krejci and Zachary Ricochet, just another really good on-ball defender. That this is it's awesome to see the Hawks prioritize this weakness to kind of um grow the team.
Yeah, you mentioned, him getting Ricochet growing off the ball. I love what he does defensively, and we were differentiating him from Trent Forrest a minute ago, but I think there's some similarity there when it comes to defense. If they're going to prioritize switching, and you look at the number of bigs that they had last night who were able to switch, like it was everybody. It was Baker, it was Gay, all the bigs seemed capable of switching. But part of the reason that works is because you have guards that can switch too, and he's plays so big and so strong. Like he's 6'4". He's not a young guy. You think, well, okay, signing this unrestricted free agent. He's like a couple months younger than Trey, so
Yeah.
he's pretty old, but he can box out. He can contest shots at the rim. He can play really physically with a big to try to keep them out of their spots when they're switching in the initial action. Like he's in addition to being a good point of attack defender, he can just handle switches. He's not he's not a guard who's just going to get immediately overpowered by an average big. Like he's going to hold up in a lot of situations.
Agreed. Yeah, I love him being a depth piece for this team.
uh there's just so many things that we haven't been able to talk about the last couple of weeks. So just kind of throwing a random curveball out there. What do you think of Sadiq Bey signing with Washington?
I'm happy for him. You know, he shouldn't have any trouble getting on the floor when he's ready to play. And he's making as much money as he probably would have hoped to make in a season and a half. But it said it'll be across 3 years. But coming off an injury, sometimes it's really really hard to get more than 4 million, 6. I was worried he'd get a contract that really didn't would put a lot of pressure on him to maybe rush back this season. And the thing I'm most happy about for him is that he doesn't have to do that now because he's got a 3-year contract. So Washington's kind of in a weird place in terms of their franchise. Like I want to see like what do they do with Jordan Poole? Like what kind of role do they like? How much do they invest in him? How much do they let him kind of be a person who kind of sets the tone for how things are going to go? Because a lot of times he just doesn't seem like the most serious NBA player in the league, and stuff like that. And so they have a new coaching staff. Well, I mean, they carried over the head coach that was the interim coach last year, Brian Keefe. But it's his first real head coaching job. But I'm glad he got a contract that gives him some amount of kind of financial reward for the work he's done.
Yeah, I wanted the Hawks to bring him back, but I would wager the Hawks probably offered decent, like similar money, maybe less than what he got from the Wizards. But I just think Sadiq saw his path to playing time evaporate with the pick of Ricochet, along with Jalen Johnson about to get a massive contract extension, and then Dyson Daniels also being put into the fold. Like he, at a certain point, even excluding like DeAndre Hunter and V. Krejci, like I could see Sadiq seeing the writing on the wall in Atlanta where he's never going to be in a role that has a chance for him to start here in Atlanta anymore. And so, like, with the Wizards being in a complete rebuild, like he has that opportunity. So it's one of those things where it's kind of another bet on himself, and I'm happy for him that he got some guaranteed money here, and hopefully, within the next year he can bounce back and showcase what he was doing in Atlanta. Because I really thought Quinn had him going in the right direction as a basketball player. It's just unfortunate that the knee injury was such worse. Like if he doesn't have the knee injury, I bet the Hawks offer him a they offer the qualifying offer and he's a restricted free agent. He's probably back next season, but like it's just real unfortunate timing for him and for the Hawks both. But I'm hoping for nothing for the best. He was one of my favorite players to watch in recent years, just due to his effort and intensity at all times. Even if he is a flawed player, like I can respect somebody who plays that hard all the time. Like it's really impressive.
I
Yeah,
put
I
this
agree.
on Twitter a couple weeks ago. I said that I had so much respect for what he gave the Hawks last year because he's going.
I mean, I think the Sadiq business is just, it's tricky business. I think the Hawks offered him a lot of money last
Well,
season, when they could do an extension, and he just wanted a whole lot more than that.
yeah, and it's an interesting trend you bring that up, Kevin, because I think Caleb Martin ran into this issue with the Heat, where these non-stars are um, are getting really squeezed now. Like teams are not offering those. Teams aren't offering. I mean, you look at the Hawks for example, like with DeAndre Hunter. It's they can't. You know, no team is biting on that contract just because of this current cap environment. So, to me, I think what's going on is the NBA setting a new standard for these non-star level talents, where it's like, hey, if you're not like if you don't have all-star upside for our team, we're not going to offer you that 20 plus $1 million contract anymore. It's 15 and below for basically all these guys. I think PJ Washington might have been the first domino of this last year when he couldn't get anything above the mid level. So like I just think this is going to be the standard going forward, especially with these aprons and stuff. So um, I I I think Okongwu was smart in hindsight to take the money that he got. It's a good contract for him if he's able to start. Like it's going to be a great value contract for the Hawks. Um, but just because like if you're not somebody on that all-star level trajectory, the money you're offered by these teams before free agency might not be there after the season. Like it's
Yeah.
just like you know if you don't, especially if you don't have that role, ingrained in for you. Like if the coach and the team and the system doesn't have that role ingrained, like I'm sure Sadiq was looking for similar money to what Hunter got. But the Hawks were like, we're not making that mistake again. Like we're not
And
going
when
to.
when you're in the middle like that, he wanted a certain amount of money in the middle, and it was going to be, really, really high in the middle, and the Hawks were, more probably middle, and then you get hurt, and if you're all-star caliber and you hurt your ACL, you're still going to get that deal. But if you're in the middle and you get hurt, the middle goes away. Like it's different. If a star gets hurt, they're still going to have that safety. If you're in the middle and you get hurt, whatever deals, whatever, stuff was out there before you got hurt, it's just going to go away. It's going to go way, way down.
I mean,
It's,
yeah, it's
it's tough.
something. It's something we talked about. There's just so much talent in the league right now where teams feel that these guys are replaceable. Like, I mean, take V Krejci, for example. Like, V, I mean, for all intents and purposes, V replaced Sadiq in the rotation, and the Hawks were better in certain areas. Like,
Right.
and so it's just one of those things. And the Hawks are paying him the minimum with
Right.
unguarantees on years 3 and 4. Like, the Hawks would rather do that or find another V. And if V didn't accept the offer that the Hawks were giving him, the Hawks would probably look for another V Krejci.
Yeah.
Just because primarily because they're looking for less about the physical talent of the player, but the skill set and the tools you bring to the actual floor and how that translates on the NBA floor. That's what teams are looking for from their non-star level talent. The star levels, like the guys like Jalen's going to get the money. Trey's always going to get the money. Donovan Mitchell's always going to get the money. Those guys are always going to get their money, but we're going to see the end of players. I hate to bring DeAndre Hunter back into the fold here, but players like DeAndre Hunter,
Yeah.
who are good basketball players, but like if you're not like a supreme difference maker, it's going to be a tough market for you. So,
Yeah. You look at the DeAndre Hunter contract and the Caleb Martin contract, and that's one just you look at that and you're like, okay, something's out of a line here, right? Out of alignment
yep.
here. So,
All right.
but I mean,
We've
different timing.
successfully buried the lead for like 30 minutes. We need to, we cannot run out of time without talking about Reece Sachet's debut. So
Yeah, I was going to make sure we
we've
we
nibbled
should
on
talk
the
about him
edges.
and we
Let's
should
go
talk
to the
about
meat here
Jur
before we run out of time.
yeah,
What do you
Reese
think?
Shea, Jurisic, and Gay. We should probably hit on those. So Tyler, I'm interested. Like, I felt like you had very optimistic expectations of Reese Shea. Did his first game kind of meet those expectations?
Yeah, he was pretty much the basketball player I thought he was, based on what I saw. The only thing that really surprised me was his handling in the pick and roll. Like, it seems like, because even as recently as one of his last games in France, that's not something he was able to do. Like, if he got trapped, he was getting off the ball quickly without a plan, and like it wasn't natural. Whereas in this environment, like one of the early possessions of the game, he gets trapped, but importantly, he recognizes that the trap, they're not trying to take the ball away from him, so he keeps his dribble to keep the play alive, and then gets off it, and then relocates to the corner and gets a wide open corner 3-pointer. So like, he is clearly working on his deficiencies as a basketball player continuously. Like, and you could see it with the improvements of his game. But like, overall, I thought he was as advertised. This is why the Hawks took him number one. Like, the shot, it's less about the accuracy to me. Like, every shot he took looked like it could have gone in. And like, the jumper just looks great, and it's such a quick release. Like, that's going to be such a problem for teams and on a floor next to Trae Young and Jalen Johnson. Like, with how little time and space he needs to get his shot off, like, this is going to be a massive boon for the Hawks. Plus, you looked at what all the little things he did defensively, especially the tip rebounding, something you were talking about on Twitter. Um, I think the thing that impressed me the most, though, was his post ups on smaller players. That is not something I saw at all on film. Like, I never saw him post up one time from the games I saw. So like, to see him do it on an NBA floor with more spacing, just sealing his man and creating a passing lane for a guard to throw it up to him, and he, get fouled or make a layup. Like, he can do that at the NBA tomorrow. Like, if a smaller defender is on him, he can post that guy up and just be bigger. Like, it's, it's, I mean, I think I alluded to it a bit on Twitter, but like, Reese Shea, Alex Sarr, and really all the bigs that played last night were all the same, like, size, weight class. Like, he's just as big as these guys, but he's just way more skilled. Like, that's just not something you can find in free agency. So like, the Hawks are really lucky to have him.
Yeah, I was impressed with how little coaching he needed. Like, I mean, he knew what to do. Like in the first summer league game, it's oftentimes some players are getting coached like every possession on the floor. A new stuff, new situation, all that sort of stuff. but he just looked like a guy who always knew what to do, whether I was on offense or defense. I was happy to see him when he was open. He took the shot, no hesitation at all, right? None at all. When he was available for a head-to-head pass, he kind of gave the guard who was in the backcourt a really good kind of line for that hit. I mean, just so many little stuff. But the tip rebounds, I think he ended up with 4. I think he would see his big man kind of get disadvantaged position as a rebounder, and he would run down and just tip the ball away from those two guys towards a teammate, And it was just, the processing, the recognition, the decision making, and just kind of always knowing what to do, just really impressed me.
And the
Yeah.
passing as well, like that.
Oh yeah,
That's something like, I mean, not even just the flashy passes. Like he had a couple like wild plays that uh one where Mo missed, another one Dylan Windler made, but like he also had just basic grab and goes, and then Miles Norris is running to the corner. He just lobs it over the top of the defense to Miles Norris for open corner 3-pointer. Like I was saying, I said on Twitter after that play, I'm like, I've seen all I need to see. Like wing players don't do this in the NBA. Like they're not able to make that pass. How many times have we talked about the Hawks wings in particular these last couple of years just not being able to make the simple play as passers? This that's not something Ricochet has a problem with. I mean, he's making every correct read as a passer. Like, imagine what he's going to do on a next to Bogey and Trey. Like that's what I'm excited about as a Hawks fan. I don't care about like everybody's looking at the points and like his box score number. I'm like, look at his processing, what he's doing on the floor. Exactly. Now imagine what it's going to look like with better basketball players who are able to finish consistently, who are able to make open corner 3-pointers with consistency. Like this is impressive. So I so as somebody who was clinging first, I get why they took. I mean, I get why they took Ricochet #1 overall. Now, like, I mean, you just can't find this. You can't trade for this player. You can't sign this player in free agency. You have to be able to. You have to draft them and develop them. And the Hawks got potentially one of the best, like a guy who could be one of the best two-way players in the game, in the next 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, it's kind of. Also, I mean, that dunk, like that adjustment he made to go to the left hand. Oh man, that was. Sorry, Kevin. That adjustment he made to get to the left hand, just recognizing where the defender was to get the ball on his left side away from
it was Alex Sarr too, like to get the ball away from
defender
Sarr
and get to that.
And he made it look natural, like, and it was like this is my game. So, yeah, man, he kind of flashed all the tools. I thought he was overall from the rookies I've seen. I thought he was the second best rookie because, like, I gotta admit, Reed Shepherd was incredible for the Rockets, but
yeah, we're not surprised.
I mean, but that's not surprising based on the film you saw with Reed. But I thought Ricochet, he might not have been as good, but like considering his size, that's all that matters. Like for the Hawks, he was the best player in this draft class who they could have taken with the #1 overall pick.
Kevin, what do you think of Jurisic?
Sorry, I was thinking about something else.
Okay.
I was still thinking about Ricochet. He was in a tough spot. He was a little bit miscast as a starting point guard. So it'll be interesting to see what he does in the next few games. I think it's something you just want to see more of it and see what the processing curve is going forward. I guess maybe to talk about both the rookies, Ricochet, when the ball is coming his way, like the best thing he does is, just he's such a good off-ball player. And his feet are ready when the ball is in the air. And a lot of times that means that he's getting both feet in the air as he's ready to catch it. And that could mean, finding a seam for a drive. It could mean getting his feet under him for a jump shot. He's sort of always ready. And, that's the beginning of him setting defenders up to get an advantage. And when he gets that advantage, I think maybe the best thing about Ricochet that I saw yesterday is that as soon as he sees the help coming, he's off the ball. Like there's just the processing for a 19-year-old in a game that's just hot shit because there's just
It is.
not that
It's
much talent. Like he's just making the right reads so fast, and he just didn't make like any wrong reads.
Yeah.
It's just like there's no mistakes in the processing. And I guess to sort of differentiate with Jurisic, it's like watching him pass, he made some great passes, but a lot of them I was almost like, did he travel? Because it's like a lot of his passes
Yeah.
were like almost like up and downs. Like he's in the air, he's trying to figure out where it's going to be. And it's like that foot almost comes down and touches when he gets rid of the ball. And it's like the passes were a little bit late. It's like he didn't quite know where he was going to go with it. And so I don't think there's any question that Jurisic is going to be a plus passer for a 20-year-old rookie going forward. But I still think that he's finding his way in that regard.
Yeah, I think you saw it at the end of the game in the fourth quarter when he had Ricochet open in the corner and on a fast break opportunity. And instead of just getting the ball out of his hands, he drove to the middle of the lane and collapsed the defense. Like it was four defenders around him. And then he tried to jump pass it to Ricochet right open when if he would have just simply threw the ball to Ricochet, he was open the second he crossed half court. Like there was no need to continue with the dribble. And it's one of those things where it's like, this is the NBA. Like those passing lanes close quickly. And so that's something Jurisic is going to have to adjust to if he's going to be an on-ball type player. And then as well, like his shooting, I just want to make this point. I feel like he's struggling to find a consistent release point, if that makes sense. Like it felt like he was throwing out 8 different jumpers, including some of his free throws. So he needs to. I just think he needs a lot of work to be done. So hopefully the Hawks can get him in College Park so that he can work, so they can actually see him and see his progress. Because based on what the Hawks did last year, I do see a lot of what it kind of reminds me of what Veet does when on the positive side for Jurisic when he's breaking the paint, when he's getting 2 feet into the paint, like his dribble drives, very impressive. And then immediate, and when he's able to kick it out to an open shooter, like that's something we can build. Like I feel like that's something the Hawks can build on, but like the overall player right now isn't NBA rotation ready. But that's to be expected from a 20-year-old second round pick. Like it's going to take him some time to really mold it to the player. But overall, I thought he was okay, except for rewatching the game. I just think the fourth quarter, defensively and offensively, he was kind of a little shakier than what you would want. But like he's a rookie, so it's not, and it's summer league, so it's not to be unexpected.
Yeah. My favorite thing I mean, I think everything you both are saying is right on point. I mean, one part of the ball handling and all that stuff is he played with Topic last year, and Topic really dominated possession, on the European team. And I think that's part of kind of where he is, but my favorite thing he did was, there was second, third quarter, Champagny was really trying to go at Ricochet. And I don't know if this was seen on TV, but like Champagny would make a play and kind of put his hand in like Ricochet's face. And Jurisic would go out of his way to go bump him. Oh, sorry, kind of give him a nudge, kind of get into his hip, things like that. And that kind of, that's the reputation he has, is he's going to not back down from anything, right? And he was sort of, just kind of a first summer league first game he's played over here, right? And he was kind of protecting his guy. I love that.
Yeah, he played, and to actually bring this back to Ricochet, I wanted to make this point. Like, I thought Ricochet responded well because like they were trying to test him, and because I remember Champagne did point at him, and like the next play, like Ricochet just diced him up, and then did the behind the back behind the back pass to Mo Gay for the corner 3. Like, so like Ricochet was giving it back to him, and I was impressed because one play he got fouled, it wasn't called. But instead of pouting, like the Hawks eventually got the ball back, and he went right back at somebody else to go score the ball. So like, he's a next play up mentality. Like if he makes a mistake, it happens, he moves on. So it's really impressive. Quickly with Mo though, I thought Mo was good when he played in structure. I think he was the most like uh who suffered from like maybe the summer leagueness of the game, where if he was if when he was like kind of doing his own thing on both ends, it kind of hurt the team. But like there's always he always flashes the elite traits of his size and speed and skill. But like I just think he needed to maybe tone it down by 5% on the aggression level, just so that he's not fouling out of every game. Because like 7 fouls is a lot for summer league.
Yeah, you could see it in the building. There was one official that was calling touch fouls, and both teams were super frustrated with her. Both teams were like really frustrated with her. I think she called 5 of the 7 that he had. So I think that was tough. But offensively, he was in a different role. Like last year, it was pick into the short roll, pick dive to the right. They let him face up. They let him facilitate, initiate. I mean, it was a different offensive role for him. So in that sense, it didn't surprise me that it was a little bit clunky here in game one.
Yeah, yeah, I would agree. To be fair to him, he was better. Like all the Hawks rookies were better when they were on the floor with Keaton Wallace, who was just or Jarkel Jono. When they were on the floor with a real point guard organizing them, it was just the flow of the offense was just a lot better than to start the game, where it was a real mess. But overall, like good first game for all the Hawks prospects, really. But uh, excited to watch the rest of summer league. Especially I think Zachary Risache, based on the type of jump shot he has, he's probably going to have a big scoring night. If he's hitting like 5 or 6 threes, because he has that type of talent. So excited to see that and see how fans are going to react to his game.
Lots of
I'm
positives.
excited for year 2 of Mo. You could see him making a little bit of a step. Like there was one play where he was getting posted up, but the guard had the ball and he knew he had to kind of be ready for the drive too. And he got off the post up to help on the drive when the post up was trying to seal him. And it's like he wouldn't have done that last year. So I think he's smartly physical, even though there was some less smart physicality too. But anyways, more Vegas. And good night, Bob.
Good night, Bob.
Good night, Bob.